November 1942, Operation Torch, North Africa. The first American M1 bazookas reached the front with no trained crews. General Dwight Eisenhower learned on the eve of the landings that none of his soldiers had been instructed on the new rocket launcher. Within days of deployment, German units captured several intact examples from inexperienced American outfits who had abandoned gear during early skirmishes. Those seized weapons would spark the most notable reverse engineering effort of World War II. The captured bazookas represented something novel in German military thought. Here was a lightweight, shoulder-fired armament that could defeat tanks at distances beyond thrown charges, yet required only 1 or 2 men to operate. Wehrmacht technical intelligence immediately grasped the implications. Every American infantry squad could now engage armor independently without awaiting specialized anti-tank guns or vehicles. The path from battlefield capture to mass manufacture unfolded with astonishing speed. German forces shipped the seized bazookas to Germany for urgent study. The weapons arrived at Kumdorf proving grounds south of Berlin, where Wehrmacht ordnance experts conducted the first methodical analysis of American rocket launcher design. What they found would fundamentally reshape German infantry tactics for the rest of the war. The technical inspection revealed both potential and problems. The American M1 bazooka fired a 60mm rocket using a battery-powered electrical ignition. The shaped charge warhead could pierce roughly 75 to 100 millimeters of armor under ideal conditions. The weapon weighed about 7 kilograms and could be handled by a single soldier. Yet German engineers immediately spotted crucial vulnerabilities that needed correction. The battery ignition system posed the gravest worry. German experience on the Eastern Front had shown batteries failed catastrophically in extreme cold. The wooden shoulder stock of the American bazooka housed compartments for 4 D-cell batteries, 2 active and 2 spare, but moisture and freezing temperatures made them unreliable. Any German variant would demand a more robust firing system. Engineers also recognized that the 60mm warhead was inadequate against Soviet T-34 tanks, whose sloped armor could defeat smaller-shaped charges. The Wehrmacht already had 88 80mm shaped charge warheads for the Raketenwerfer 43 Pupchen, a wheeled anti-tank rocket launcher that cost 5,130 Reichsmarks to produce. Adapting that ammunition to a shoulder-fired tube would yield superior penetration while leveraging existing production lines. March 1943 brought a decisive demonstration at Kummersdorf. German weapons officials watched captured American bazookas test-fired alongside experimental German anti-tank systems, including the FA Patron. The trial convinced the leadership that developing a German variant was imperative. The captured arms proved the concept viable. German engineering would make it deadly. Development advanced with remarkable efficiency. Engineers replaced the battery ignition with a magneto system triggered by a spring-loaded striker that hit a generator to produce current. This removed the cold weather weakness while preserving dependable ignition. The tube diameter grew to 88 mm to accept existing Pupchen ammunition, providing nearly 50% greater warhead mass than the American original. One notable design compromise emerged. The German rocket motor continued burning for approximately 2 minutes after leaving the launch tube, unlike the American rocket which burned out inside the tube. This increased range and velocity, but created a massive backblast that endangered the operator. Early operators discovered the exhaust could cause severe burns and temporary blindness, earning the weapon its nickname, Ofenrohr, meaning stovepipe. By July 1, 1943, German documents officially listed the new weapon as the 8.8 cm Panzerschreck. The designation would soon change to Raketenpanzerbüchse 43, commonly shortened to RPZB 43. Production preparations were already underway at multiple facilities across Germany, though mass manufacturing would not begin until September. The production infrastructure mobilized with typical German efficiency. 6 primary manufacturers received contracts for the new weapon. Ensinger Union in Fedsheimer, Hasag in Moselwitz, Gabruder Scheffler in Berlin, Jekyll in Freistadt, Kronrins in Solingen, and Schreier in Fürth. Each facility would produce components or complete weapons with final assembly occurring at multiple locations to prevent Allied bombing from disrupting the entire program. September 8, 1943, a German military report stated the weapon would be sent to frontline troops for trials very soon. By September 30th, the official manual for the Raketenpanzerbüchse had been published. October 5th saw the first delivery of 1,500 weapons and 5,000 rockets to combat units. The transformation from captured American weapon to German mass production had taken less than 11 months. The production numbers revealed the scale of German commitment to the weapon. Initial orders called for 382,000 units, though material shortages and bombing would reduce this to 289,151 RPZB-4 models by July 1944, when production ceased. An additional 25,744 improved RPSB 541 models were produced between December 1944 and the war's end. Manufacturing the Panzerschreck required just 10 work hours per weapon at a cost of 70 Reichsmarks, compared to 5,730 Reichsmarks for the smallest traditional anti-tank gun. This economic efficiency made mass production feasible even as Germany's war economy contracted. A single Panzerschreck cost less than a military rifle, but could destroy a 40-ton tank. The human cost of production remains one of the darkest chapters in the weapon's history. Hasag, the third-largest explorer of forced labor in Nazi-controlled Europe, operated multiple production facilities using slave laborers from concentration camps. By October 1943, over 60,000 workers labored for Hasag, more than half of them forced laborers and prisoners of war. The company operated 16,581 prisoners in labor subamps by 1945. At Hasag facilities in Poland, approximately 35,000 deaths occurred across various camps, though incomplete records prevent precise accounting. Workers endured 12-hour shifts with exposure to toxic chemicals, brutal beatings, starvation rations, and no sanitation. The Schlebenberger camp producing munitions, including Panzerschreck components, housed between 2,000 and 5,000 female prisoners, with an average life expectancy of 2 months. An explosion there on October 12, 1944, killed 96 prisoner laborers. The weapons combat deployment began in autumn 1943, initially in small numbers as production ramped up. By January 1944, 21,141 had been issued to combat units, though another 39,526 remained in armories due to Vermiched distribution problems. German infantry units on all fronts demanded the new weapon, recognizing its effectiveness against Allied armor. Eastern Front forces received priority for Panzerschreck distribution. Soviet tank commanders quickly noticed the changing tactical situation. Where German infantry had previously relied on magnetic mines, anti-tank rifles, and bundled grenades, they now possessed weapons that could engage tanks at 150 to 200 meters. Every German strongpoint potentially concealed multiple rocket launcher teams. The weapon proved particularly effective in defensive positions. German tactical doctrine called for Panzerschreck teams to establish interlocking fields of fire from concealed positions. Teams would dig staggered trenches no more than 150 meters apart, ensuring attacking armor-faced rockets from multiple directions. The effective range against moving targets was approximately 100 meters, though static targets could be engaged at greater distances. Technical performance data from German and Finnish tests demonstrated the weapon's capabilities. The RPZB GUR 4322 rocket achieved penetration of 160 meters of armor at 60 degrees impact angle, or up to 230 mm at optimal 90 dd dirting angle. The rocket velocity reached 10 ms compared to the American bazooka's 85 ms. The warhead contained 700 gribais of explosive, triple the American weapon's charge. The Blast Shield edition in February 1944 created the RP's B-54 model, which became the standard production variant. This shield protected operators from the rocket's back blast. Though it increased weight from 9.25 25 kilo to 11 kilos, operators still required protective equipment, including gloves and face protection, as the backblast danger zone extended 10 to 30 meters behind the weapon. Western Front deployment accelerated before D-Day. German forces in Normandy received thousands of Panzerschrecks positioned to engage Allied landing craft and tanks at the waterline. The weapons proved effective in the Bocage country, where short engagement ranges and abundant concealment suited Panzerschreck tactics. American tank crews, recognizing their own invention turned against them, developed countermeasures, including additional armor and infantry screens. The psychological impact often exceeded the physical damage. Allied tank crews knew that every hedgerow, building, or pile of rubble might conceal a Panzerschreck team. The weapon's distinctive launch signature, a bright flash followed by a smoke trail, became a dreaded sight. Tank commanders reported that crew effectiveness decreased significantly in areas known to have high concentrations of Panzerschrecks. International proliferation began even before the war ended. Finland purchased 1,184 launchers and 18,650 rockets for 200,000 rich marks. Finnish forces achieved remarkable success against Soviet armor with tests confirming penetration of 100 mm of face-hardened armor at 30 degrees to Hungarian forces received. Panzerschrecks for Operation Spring Awakening in March 1945. The war's last major German offensive. Allied intelligence closely monitored the Panzerschreck phenomenon. A British report from January 1945 noted that German production of nearly 300,000 units in 18 months exceeded total Allied bazooka production. American ordnance experts recognized that the Germans had identified and corrected every weakness in the original bazooka design, creating a superior weapon from captured examples. The Americans themselves adopted German improvements for later bazooka models. The M9 bazooka, introduced in October 1943, incorporated magneto-ignition similar to the Panzerschreck, eliminating the battery, problems that plagued earlier versions. The M20 Super Bazooka, developed late in the war, increased caliber to 3.5 in. Following the German example of using larger warheads for better penetration, production statistics revealed the weapon's importance to German strategy. By July 1944, when production of the RPB-54 ceased, 289,151 units had been manufactured. Monthly production peaked at 15,000 units in early 1944. Each weapon required components from 32 subcontractors, demonstrating the industrial complexity behind mass production. The improved RPZB-541 model addressed remaining deficiencies. Introduced in December 1944, it featured a shortened tube length of 135 centimeters, improved rocket propellant that reduced backblast, and refined sights. Despite orders for 48,000 units, only 25,744 were delivered before Germany's surrender. Engineers also developed prototypes using impregnated cardboard tubes to save steel, though none reached production. Cost-effectiveness analysis demonstrates why Germany prioritized Panzerschreck production. Each weapon cost 70 Reichsmarks and required 10 work hours to manufacture. The smallest traditional anti-tank gun, the 3.7 cm Puck 3536, cost 5,230 Reichsmarks and was ineffective against modern tanks. A single Tiger tank cost 300,000 Reichsmarks. For the price of one Tiger, Germany could produce over 4,000 Panzerschrecks. Ammunition production matched weapon manufacturing. Over 2 million rockets were produced, primarily the RPZB Gur 4322 model with its distinctive shape and fin stabilization. Each rocket weighed 3.3 kilograms, came packaged in wooden crates of 2. Special winter and summer. Variants accommodated temperature extremes that affected propellant performance. Transport frames allowed soldiers to carry 5 rockets, though the weight and bulk limited mobility. The weapon's influence extended beyond World War II. Belgian company MAR, which had produced Panzerschrecks under license, developed the Blindesuicide RL-83 in the 1950s. Using similar principles, the Swiss Army adopted derivatives as the 8.3 cm rocket-propelled grenade, maintaining upgraded versions, in service through 1980. The basic concept of an oversized shaped charge in a shoulder-fired, tube-influenced anti-tank weapon development worldwide. Post-war. Analysis by American ordnance experts acknowledged German achievements. Colonel C.T. Richards wrote in 1946 that the Panzerschreck program represented history's most successful reverse engineering project, achieving mass production in under 7 months from initials book capture. The Germans had taken a hastily developed American weapon and transformed it into a mature system that exceeded the original in every performance metric. Soviet forces captured thousands of Panzerschrecks during their advance into Germany. Red Army evaluation noted the weapon's superiority to captured American bazookas received through Lend-Lease. The Soviets had initially rejected American bazookas as insufficiently powerful, receiving only 3,000 units with minimal ammunition. The German version, with its larger warhead and greater penetration, better suited Soviet tactical requirements. The last documented combat use of wartime Panzerschrecks occurred during the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, when Syrian forces employed captured German weapons. The weapons had traveled from German factories through various conflicts, demonstrating the durability of the basic design. Some examples remained in Third World arsenals into the 1960s, long after more advanced anti-tank weapons became available. Technical documentation survived in remarkable detail. The Wehrmacht September 30, 1943 manual provided comprehensive instructions for operation, maintenance, and tactics. American intelligence translated captured manuals with an October 7, 1944 report detailing German firing procedures, aiming techniques, and safety requirements. These documents reveal the thoroughness of German training programs despite wartime pressures. Safety statistics highlight the weapon's dangers. German records indicate numerous operator casualties from backblast injuries, premature detonations, and enemy return fire attracted by the weapon's prominent launch signature. The 10 to 30 mm backblast zone behind the weapon required careful positioning to avoid injuring friendly troops. Urban combat proved particularly hazardous as backblast could reflect off walls, injuring operators. Comparative analysis with contemporary weapons reveals the Panzerschreck's position in anti-tank weapon evolution. The British Pat, using aspring-launched spigot mortar principle, had greater range but less penetration. The American bazooka offered better portability but inferior armor penetration. The German Panzer fast provided simpler operation and lower cost, but was single-use only. The Panzerschreck balanced these factors, offering reusable capability with substantial hitting power. Manufacturing quality varied significantly as the war progressed. Early production weapons from 1943 featured excellent workmanship with precision-machined components. By late 1944, simplified production techniques and inferior materials reduced quality, though functionality remained adequate. Captured examples show progressive degradation in finish and tolerances as Germany's industrial situation deteriorated. The weapon system's complete infrastructure included training facilities, ammunition depots, repair workshops, and distribution networks. Germany established Panzerschreck training schools at multiple locations, graduating thousands of operators monthly. Specialized repair units maintained weapons at division level. The logistical commitment matched that of traditional artillery systems, demonstrating the weapon's perceived value. Environmental limitations affected combat employment. The weapon proved less effective in extreme cold, where propellant burned inconsistently. Desert conditions caused problems with sand contamination. Rain and moisture could cause electrical shorts in the ignition system. Despite these limitations, the basic design proved remarkably robust, functioning adequately across diverse combat environments from Arctic Finland to Mediterranean Italy. Allied countermeasures evolved throughout the war. Tank crews welded additional armor plates, hung sandbags, and installed wire mesh screens to defeat shaped charges. Infantry adopted aggressive screening tactics, advancing ahead of tanks to suppress Panzerschreck teams. Artillery and mortars targeted suspected firing positions. Despite these measures, the Panzerschreck remained a serious threat through the war's end. German tactical innovation maximized the weapon's effectiveness. Panzerschreck teams learned to target specific vehicle vulnerabilities, including vision blocks, engine compartments, and track assemblies. Multiple teams coordinated attacks to overwhelm tank defenses. Urban combat tactics evolved to exploit the weapon's capabilities while minimizing exposure to return fire. These tactics influenced post-war anti-tank doctrine worldwide. Production quality control data survives from several facilities. Random testing of production weapons showed approximately 95% met specifications in 1943, declining to roughly 80% by late 1944. The primary failures involved ignition systems and tube integrity. Despite quality issues, the sheer production volume ensured adequate supplies reached combat units. The economic impact extended beyond direct production costs. Germany diverted significant industrial capacity to Panzerschreck manufacturing, including steel, electrical components, and chemical production for propellants and explosives. The program consumed resources that might have produced other weapons. However, the cost-effectiveness compared to traditional anti-tank guns justified this allocation. From the German perspective, training programs evolved based on combat experience. Initial training emphasized accuracy and safety. Combat veterans later provided practical instruction on tactics, camouflage, and survival. The Wehrmacht published numerous training pamphlets and tactical guides specifically for Panzerschreck operators. These materials, captured and translated by Allied intelligence, provide insights into German anti-tank doctrine evolution. Supply chain complexity increased as production expanded. The weapon required specialized components from multiple suppliers, including electrical contacts, optical sights, steel tubing, and wooden components. Rocket production demanded separate facilities for warhead manufacture, propellant mixing, and final assembly. Disruption at any point could halt production, making the system vulnerable to strategic bombing. The Panzerschreck program ultimately demonstrates rapid military adaptation under extreme pressure. From initial capture of American bazookas in November 1942 to mass production by September 1943, Germany transformed a foreign idea into a native capability. The project succeeded through practical engineering that utilized existing materials rather than inventing completely new technology. Germany's capacity to manufacture nearly 300,000 Panzerschrecks while waging a multi-front war demonstrated extraordinary industrial endurance. The weapon emerged from methodical reverse engineering that pinpointed and corrected the flaws of the original design. German engineers did not merely duplicate the bazooka, they developed a significantly enhanced weapon system that surpassed the original in nearly every measurable aspect of performance. The historical importance of this achievement goes far beyond technical innovation. The Panzerschreck symbolizes effective technology adaptation under battlefield pressure. rapid industrial mobilization despite material shortages, and efficient military response to enemy advancements. The program proved that captured enemy technology could be swiftly converted into mass-produced armaments capable of influencing the course of battle. Modern military scholars examine the Panzerschreck as a prime example of successful reverse engineering, accelerated product development under wartime urgency, and coordinated industrial production. The timeline from initial capture to full-scale manufacture remains remarkable even by modern benchmarks. Few weapons programs have achieved comparable speed from concept to deployment, especially when derived from seized enemy designs. The full narrative blends technical ingenuity, industrial accomplishment, and human suffering. While German engineering merits acknowledgement for its rapid progress and efficient production, the widespread use of forced labor must also be remembered. Tens of thousands perished manufacturing weapons that prolonged a doomed conflict. The Panzerschreck's history embodies both outstanding technological progress and the grim exploitation that enabled it. In summary, the Panzerschreck stands as one of history's most successful reverse engineering endeavors, turning captured American bazookas into almost 300,000 upgraded German weapons in less than a year. The program demonstrated that military innovation could be captured, refined, and mass-produced faster than previously thought possible. From the first captures during Operation Torch to the last weapons built in April 1945, the Panzerschreck illustrated Germany's industrial adaptability and engineering realism applied to the demands of desperate warfare.